So before starting the session, I would like to read about the two speakers' biography or short biography. So let's start from the Ajahn Sano. So Ajahn Sano, so Associate Professor Dr. Sano, and then so he is the prominent scholar in the Buddhist studies with a specific focus on the Theravada study and the integrating Buddhist teachings with the modern disciplinary concept. And he is also an associate professor in the religious and theology in the currently serves as a director of the Doctor of Philosophy program in Buddhist Studies International Program at the International Buddhist Study College, IBSC of Chulalongkorn Rajvidyalaya University. And when we're talking about his academic careers, so he is characterized as an interdisciplinary approach to the Buddhist philosophy, psychology, history, grounds. And also he did her MA in the Religious Studies Institute for the Study in the Religion and Philosophical Studies in the same university. And then her specialty is about the which we mentioned before. Also our Venerable Ashira he mentioned. So about the and also she did her PhD research. It's your PhD research, right? So about the women in the Pali literature, eminent Buddhist nun and lay women with the modern science. So same thing the Venerable Ashira he mentioned. I think this is really interesting research field. For me also, the first time I heard the talk or speech regarding the Theravada or especially the eminent Buddhist nun or lay women stories, I think this is also what we were discussing during the lunchtime also with her. So
International Buddhist Studies College of the administrators and also Professor Joanna Kruz-Yuska, okay, and to lecturers, officers, and the students, okay, including the moderator, Venerable Pante Tetsindoji. Okay. Well, first I would like to convey my total appreciation, how much I appreciate to be here in order to join the very special, this program is under MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding between International Buddhist Studies College that we made with the Poland, okay, the Jagiellonian universities, okay, and to give a very first introduction about this one, maybe we will be discussing, okay, about three main things, three main subjects based on the three subjects that you already have seen in the poster, okay. That is the first one is regarding the Tipitaka analysis, okay, or you can call it a Buddha Dhamma analysis. This subject belongs to the MA level in Buddhist studies, and the rest two subjects is very important. The next is seminar on Buddhist integration and modern science, right? And also some of the subjects will concern with the Tipitaka analysis and the integration, something like that. Okay, so maybe this is the very quick introduction from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ajahn. So normally we call Ajahn Sano, so let me call you as Ajahn Sano. It's easy for me. So I want to say thank you very much for Ajahn Sano for introducing today's topic and the discussion topic. So next I will invite Assistant Professor Dr. Jonah to say some few words. Then we will start our session. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to visit the Buddhist Studies College and to be part of this college for these few weeks. I had a very great experience with teaching students. I very much enjoyed our today's morning session as well, morning lecture, and I'm very happy that it seems that maybe I was able to present something not that much researched in the college, so I'm very happy that I could contribute a little bit with my knowledge on gender studies and early Buddhist women, Buddhist nuns.
So we're going to discuss today. And the third one is the integrative reflection on the Tipitaka. So we are going to discuss these three topics. Based on these three topics, we are going to discuss about a few different questions. And then after the informal conversation or the informal discussion, so if we have enough time, so we may invite students to ask questions, maybe 2 or 3 or a couple of questions based on our time or schedule. So as we mentioned before, so first our topic is regarding the so-called Buddhism or Buddha Dhamma or Tripitaka. So I will invite Tajang Sanu for the first question. So even Tajang, he did both his MA and PhD regarding the Buddhism. So based on those research, and he was like a teaching in IBSC so many years for the MA and PhD. So I want to ask him how important is Tripitaka regarding your life or regarding your way of teaching, regarding your professional life. So how important is Tripitaka?
Okay, this is very important, and it's like a classic question that people always ask, both inside the Buddhism, we can call it the Buddhist believers, and both outside those non-Buddhist believers, or even some group of people who have no belief in anything. So before giving you these very significant questions, okay, I would like to make something clear at this room, is that what is Tipitaka? Tipitaka is the tree, Tip is in the tree, Takas, where Takas mean, Pitaka is mean, talk about this one later on, okay? So this is the importance of the Tipitaka. Well, all of us know very well, okay? All of every single students, ranging from Bachelor of Arts level, okay, we have the Director of Bachelor of Arts here level also, to the program of MA, also the Director is here, to the PhD program, and I'm the Director. All of our students need to study primarily to the text, to the Tipitaka. So without Tipitaka, it's impossible. There is no existence of the Buddhist studies program without Tipitaka. So my opinion, this is crucial, important for the Tipitaka, okay? Then next, what Pali Canon offers us. The Pali Canon offers us the 3 baskets, right? The 3 containers. The first containers regarding about the monastic rules, not only for the monks, but for the female monks as well. We call it Bhikkhuni, right? And also, we have 5 main books in terms of the Tipitaka, Vinaya Pitaka. We have Mahawaka, the greater section. We have Julavaka, the small or minor section. Look by your own eyes, okay? Computer may be very good for you, very convenient, okay? No one can graduate without computer, right? But at least you are like Upasaka. It means that the one who stay close to the text, Upasaka, something like that. So please do that. This is the 5 books from the second containers that contain the teachings of the Buddha. How about the last one? We have a very strong discussion, that Abhidhamma Pitaka, the last basket containing the teachings of the Buddha, is not original. So this is another topic, okay? It takes like a couple of days discussion, continually to finish. And at the final day of the discussion, we still cannot, figure out and give up with the final agreement. So this is contained the Abhidhamma.
He was like explaining about importance before. He was touching how importance of Tipitaka. He was telling about how Tipitaka is formed, what is Tipitaka. So he trying to explain, and then when we jump to the main topic, Ajahn was how importance of Tipitaka. He talking about the mainly 3 or 4 main topics. One from the practical point of view, second is like academic point of view, and third one is like from the scientific point of view, and the fourth one is the discipline or the Vinaya point of view. So that's what I catch up here. So when we're talking about the practical point of view, so what Ajahn was talking about how important is Tripitaka to be practiced in our daily life. And when we're talking about the academic point of view, he was telling about all those studies like BA, MA, PhD. Without the Tripitaka, we cannot do or we cannot learn, or without the Tripitaka, maybe we are not here. Without Tripitaka, maybe he didn't mention, but it's like indirectly he is also saying that without Tripitaka, MCU doesn't exist. Without Tripitaka, IBSC doesn't exist. Because all these, like our academic session, BA, MA, PhD, it's all based on the Tripitaka, Buddha's teaching. So I think this is what Ajahn is saying, the importance of Tripitaka from the academic point of view. And also from the scientific point of view, he was saying, he quote one thing which is very interesting. I used to heard this sound from our director also, ehipasiko. So ehipasiko, which means, I think this is also the one of the unique from the Buddha's teaching. So Buddha never afraid of his teaching. He is like a full open, because he's teaching for the old. They can argue with in Buddha. This morning, like our professor also saying, we can debate with the Buddha. So Buddha was saying, you can come and see his teaching. So there is no hitting anything. So you can come and see. If you if you can understand, if you can accept, or if you can practice, just follow and practice, you will gain what Buddha received. So from the scientific point of view also, we can do that research. So nowadays more and more, many scientists coming up to do research about the mindfulness, all those things. I think this is what Ajahn is meaning to be the ehipasiko, come to see. So he's talking about the scientific point of view, which is very important, especially for the modern. And the last one, so he's talking also about the Vinaya point of view, or discipline point of view. He touched some part of the Vinaya also. And then the last one is, he's talking about also if you want to gain the kind of like a unique power, psychic power, or if you want to born in the Deva realm, you can also practice Tripitaka. You can learn from Tripitaka, so you can born in the Deva realm, or you can gain the psychic power. So I think this is what Ajahn talking about, if I'm not.
Yeah, sorry. Even though Tripitaka is so much important from the scholar's perspective, right? But you know what? The later text after Tripitaka.
Several subjects on Buddhist history. So the first part is about the earliest Buddhism, and also like a major part of this subject is also there are many references to Tipitaka, and it's basically impossible to understand the development of Buddhism without at least some basic knowledge. And the second thing, I think for anyone from the West who wants to learn anything about Buddhism, also it's important to remember that the Tipitaka is not only an ancient text, it's still a text that is performed, is recited. From the Tipitaka, the Theravada Buddhists derive their values, their way of life, their conduct. So it's not only like an ancient source, it's something that is still like part of lived religion. And of course, like I think that the easiest example I give to my students is the life of venerable monks that would still adhere to the same Vinaya rules as they are presented in the time of the Buddha in the Vinaya Pitaka. So it's not only an ancient text, it's also something that is still very much alive, right? And not only monastics, but also the lay Buddhists would derive their conduct, their ethical conduct from the teachings of the Tipitaka. And as Professor Sano mentioned, like we've got so many different divisions, so many different texts of Tipitaka, so it's basically like there's some teaching for everyone. We've got those short verses of Dhammapada, but we've got also long discourses. We've got jatakas that could be understood even by children, right? The meaning of jatakas would be easy to grasp even for people who are not very educated, and yet in the same collection, in different division, in different basket, we've got Abhidhamma, which is very sophisticated. very much advanced way of philosophical speculation. So there is such a variety. So the Buddhist doctrine is basically available for everyone. In nowadays societies, as I've noticed during my stay, that Thailand is a very good example. Like Tipitaka is very much alive in here. So it's not only an ancient source, and especially I was very moved when I was hearing the chanting. So every day those texts are chanted. They are still, used. They still serve as an inspiration, as a meditative practice even. And not only monks chant, also the lay people chant. And so sometimes, like my friends, like non-academic friends, would ask me, like, why would you study such topic? Because they do not have the knowledge, of the historical significance of the Tipitaka, and they would think like, oh, but from what you are saying, this is like a very ancient text, right? And I was like, but there are millions and millions of Theravada practitioners who actually recite those texts, and they recite it in original Pali every day. It's not like something that is just a text on the shelf. It's something that is still recited, and the conduct of every diligent Buddhist practitioner is based on the ethics that are presented in the Tipitaka. So I also think that if someone wants to learn something about contemporary Buddhism, some basic knowledge about the Tipitaka is also very important, because we would not be able to understand modern Theravada societies being totally ignorant about Tipitaka. So from Western perspective, I think it's one of the most important sources. Every Buddhist scholar, every student of Buddhist studies, or even people who are just interested in Buddhist history, Western Buddhist practitioners, I think all of those groups would benefit a lot from studying at least some parts of the Tipitaka, and it's basically not possible to have some idea of the development of Buddhism and nowadays lived religion in the Theravada societies without knowing at least some fragments of the Tipitaka. Thank you.
To understand the history means that because we are talking about authorship, who is author of the Tipitaka. So it's important to understand the author, which is Buddha himself. So he taught, and then his Sangha collect from the assembly. So he's talking about it's also very important to how importance of the Tipitaka. Before understanding that question, we also need to understand who's author, the history. So this is also important. I think this is what she mean by. And the second thing is also talking about the development of Buddhism, because in the Buddhism, so it's since 2,500 years before till now, there were lots of developments, so changes. So it's important to understand all these developments. We need to understand the Tipitaka itself. So the development of Buddhism, it's also very important to understand Tipitaka. So this is one angle. Another third angle, very important, is even the Tipitaka or the Pali canon, normally we say it's dead language, but the Tipitaka itself is very alive, which is living alive. So even it's relevant to our modern society more than before. So that is, I think, she mean by our way of life, when we're dealing with the way of life. And she take a very example as a monk in the Theravada society, or as a monk, so which is the living example, which is following the Tipitaka, which is practicing the base of Tipitaka. So living their life with the harmony or peaceful, doing meditation, all those things. So this is also relevant to the modern. And also she mentioned that Tipitaka is the very important term here. Tipitaka is not the text in the shelf. So I think this is very important term she used. So normally when we say Tipitaka, people are always thinking text which in the shelf we venerate, we respect. But if you look at what mentioned, so Tipitaka is also very living thing. This is my conclusion I'm not sure if I'm wrong. Please correct it. So again, I get
It's
a
okay, take it easy. This is not a research.
Okay. So that's yeah. Actually, I was going at the beginning. I was saying like very informal, but I trying to be more informal. Okay, then I like talking about the many topics. It touching the whole different topics, our way of life. So then, when we're talking about the Tipitaka, so I just want to ask, how might the Tipitaka's emphasis on the ethical context, or normally the ethical or morality, in the form of present scientific practice and research ethics? Because I think this question is very important. So because that's why I'm bringing here this question. When you look at the modern society, especially in the modern education system or modern academic system, so these ethical, or in the Buddhist we say sila, so ethical, the morality is lacking there. So because of that reason, we can see in the society many difficulties. So that's why I just want to ask Sanu, how might the Tipitaka emphasize on ethical context and inform the present days based on the scientific practice and the research ethics?
Okay, quite a long question, this one. Try to grab the whole idea of this question. Okay, asking about how could we, or how could we apply content from the Tipitaka to two things, to the science.
At least to some of the cognitive scientists, because Abhidhamma would be one of the first attempts of like the systematized reflection on functioning of the human mind, and those attempts of categorization, like naming different functions and coining all those specific technical terms, even if those technical terms might not overlap 100% with modern scientific framework, still as a very first attempt to have this organized reflection on the human mind, I think it is something to be studied and to be that could serve as an inspiration, especially in the study of consciousness. Could be inspiration for the study of human mind, and of course nowadays cognitive science is very much interested also in studying meditation and the effects of meditation. So, and of course Abhidhamma literature also has interest in this matter. So I think Abhidhamma, but also like the rest of the Tipitaka, also the suttas that teach about meditation, Mahasatipatthana Sutta, could be some inspiration and source of information, those first ideas how to tackle this research question of how the human mind works. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just conclude very short. So when we're talking about the cognitive and psychology of Abhidhamma, I think the professor was it's categorized as a philosophy. And then also when we're talking about psychology, it's mainly talking about how human mind's working. So this is similar like what Buddha teaching in Abhidhamma. So whole context of Abhidhamma is how our mind is working on chitta or chittasika, the mentality or the mental factors working. So this is what she's comparing here. So those two are related. And also when we're talking about the mind, so it's in the Abhidhamma is one of the important or one of the main texts which explaining the functionality or the function of mind and mind or mental factor or chitta or chittasika, which explain very details with the structure. So I think that's the most important thing here. And also when we're talking about the cognitive science is in the Western field, it's also talking about the mind or which is related to the meditation. So in the Abhidhamma, it's also talking about the meditation. So from that angle, so cognitive science in the Abhidhamma has also relation or related from the meditation point of view. So this is what Professor is mentioning. So then so we have 3 topics here. So I will go quickly. I'll just finish the first part. So second part is like a modern science, Buddhism and modern science. So first, my question is, it's a very important question because nowadays people are practicing mindfulness, which is very popular. And when we're talking about the cooperative, or also in the business point of view, which is the bestseller I don't mean the world. So let's say how does the mindfulness practice help in the today's world, because we have lots of stress, more and more stress. So we need mindfulness more than before. So how important mindfulness in the today's world? I will just invite Ajahn Sanu to share his perspective.
Okay, I will try to be very brief. Okay. How does mindfulness help the world? Something like that. Oh, at least, okay, there are a lot of possibilities to help. Okay, but at least two. The first one is to help increasing or promote their understanding, simply wisdom. Okay, because wisdom or panya can alternatively translate as wisdom or sometimes understanding. Yeah, there are many texts from the Sutta Pitaka that translate used the word understanding. Yeah, from translation of panya, right? Panya, from my opinion, it should be wisdom, but there are many resources, there are many evidences that understanding can be also intellectual. Okay, so first Buddhist teaching on the teaching and practice on the sati, okay, can best help them to increase their wisdom. That's it. So simple. Why? Because if a people who was born know nothing about sati or awareness, whatever. Yeah, there are many translations there. Let's see, mindfulness, awareness. What if they do not know the awareness meaning? Can you imagine how bad? The way they drive, the way they walk, even now, the way they talk, the way you talk, if without sati, the way you.
So he was talking about the mental life. Sati is very important. So he talking about how sati can understanding level, intellectual level, wisdom level. So way of life, when you're working in the cooperative, even you're driving, without sati we cannot survive. Even we are talking here on the stage, without sati we cannot speak. So in the mundane life, sati is very important for the indigenous. And also from the noble or the monks or the solitude, like a secular life, or let's say the noble life. So it's also very important. So he mentioned that ekayat, which is like a one and only way to get enlightened. So when we say noble life, so we are trying to seeking the enlightened nibbana or whatever. So the practice of sati is the only way to get that level, to reach that level. So from that angle, sati is also very important. So again, I will invite our next professor. So from the modern scientific point of view, so especially nowadays the mindfulness is very important or very hot topic or one of the best practice or best item to sell in the West. So from that perspective, so how does the mindfulness practice helps today's world, especially the very chaotic of this modern life? So how important sati is, how mindfulness is?
So in the West, mostly mindfulness is presented in secular framework. So as the mindfulness-based stress reduction program that was basically like laid out by John Kabat-Zinn. So there are some variations of this, but mostly it's like 8-week courses. But those courses are mostly conducted or are designed to be conducted from a secular perspective. So maybe there would be some mention that types of meditation that would be introduced during the course originated in the Buddhist context, but it's rather thought of in a very different manner. So. But even without this Buddhist context, those courses are reported to have a great impact on participants' health. So basically the stress reduction as the main goal, the many problems with anxiety, with lack of sleep. Many people report that this is something that helped them a lot. So there's lots of research, I think, in the West from different perspectives, like from perspective of cognitive science, psychology, but also from the point of view of textual studies, the mindfulness is like one of the most hot topics, right? So this is probably one of the most, if we search keywords in scientific papers, it's probably one of the most common topic of research right now. So it seems that even from the secular point of view, it still gives lots of benefits, and that's why I think it has this lot of attention from different scholarly circles. And I personally also participated in such 8-week course based on this like secular framework, and I think benefited a lot with this construction of this course, with like practicing meditation in the specific framework, meeting with the group every week to share experiences, and like 8 weeks was, I think it's this proven idea that it's enough like to ground the basics, but of course it's just one of the possibilities, of course, to practice meditation, right? But this is one of the most popular ways meditation would be introduced in the Western world, by those mindfulness courses that would be secular. So of course, mindfulness would be like very important in today's world, would be very important for the practitioners of Buddhism in Asia, in the West, but even without this Buddhist context, it could still be relevant, and it could still bear fruit, so to say, especially in terms of reduction of stress, reduction of anxiety. And in nowadays Western societies, there is a great problem with anxiety, stress, the fast pace of life, the economic problems, lack of stability in terms of politics. All of those things contribute to a lot of stress in Western societies also. So maybe some aspects of life could be considered like better taken care of, but still the level of anxiety, the level of stress is immense in Western cultures. And mindfulness is one of the I think most successful, most efficient ways of challenging those problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think our professor explained very details, and I think you can get all her context. So she's talking about first she mentioned the John Kabat-Zinn's the MBSR. It's MBSR, right? The mindful-based stress reduction. I think many of our IBC students also doing research on when it comes to the mindfulness, they're also referring the John Kabat-Zinn's the MBSR. So that's what she's talking about. Because of the practice of mindfulness, they can get away from the anxiety, like a sleepless and all those things. And it's also related to the cognitive science and all those things, especially in the modern society. People are more busy, and then because of that, lots of information. So it's like it brings us lots of stress. So the mindfulness can give the kind of peaceful. I think that's what I just conclude here. So we are lacking of time. So then I'll just jump to the third question. So it is also a very important question. So regarding the Tipitaka and the modern science. So where do the modern science and Tipitaka diverge in the explaining of the reality, nature of reality? When we're talking about the nature of reality, so where modern science and Buddhist to diverge. So I just invite.
They talking nature of what?
Where do modern science and the Tripitaka diverge in the explaining the nature of reality?
The nature of reality. This is easy to answer, but very hard to practice. Who in here know or realize the nature of reality? Can you raise your hand? Maybe even so, it's not easy, Professor, right? For some scientists, when you do your scientific experimental test, sometimes the result is come up wrong, right? Due to some factors. It's skipped for analysis or wrongly analyzed, something like that. This is the worldly study. But how about the the utmost, the ultimate level of reality. I think that you mentioned, when you mentioned about the nature of reality, you include the ultimate, conventional and ultimate truth, right? We talk about the Four Noble Truth. Okay, I don't want to touch that high. But to have the integrative ability is not easy. One needs to have, like I said, I always convince my students to have the firm knowledge on the Tipitaka first before implementation or before applying or before integrating to the science, which is not easy as well, right? So I like to say about this sutta. It's very good. I love this, and as well as the most, as well as Westerners, it's very popular. This one. It's a Kalama Sutta, Kesaputti Sutta, Kesaputta Sutta. Have many names. Okay. The Buddha said in the Anguttara Nikaya, the book number 1, Tikanipada, the group of 3, the page number 188. He said this to Kalama regarding how to promote one's wisdom, not to easily believe on these things, believe on the Buddhist religious and mysterious content, or believe on the scientific proof. So the Buddha said is that Kalama ma anusavena ma paramparaya ma itikiraya ma pitaka sampathanena pitaka sampathanena ma takahetu ma nahyahetu ma akara parivitakena ma titti nishana kantiya ma papparubataya ma samanono kharu. Kalamas do not rely on reports, legends, traditions, sacred scriptures, logic, inference, reasoning, analogies, pondering wheels, probability, and just because you think that he is our teacher, what does it mean? What does it mean? What or who to believe? But some of this is a very great discourses given by the Buddha, but there are misinterpretations. Yeah? If you're not carefully make understanding of this, the original purpose given by the Buddha, you won't believe in anything, but it's not. The Buddha said that do not believe just simply because this and that. It means that at the end of the process of thinking, you need